When police investigated Heath Ledger's tragic death, a strange name kept coming up: Mary-Kate Olsen. But when they brought her in, the situation took a darker turn. Probably no modern actor is more deserving of comparisons to James Dean than Heath Ledger. From his brooding roles to his dark personal secrets and tragic death, he lived life with a burning intensity that burnt out far too soon. When he was just 16, he graduated school in Perth and drove clear across Australia to live in Sydney and start work as an actor. For years he played small parts in television dramas, but when his break came, it was the big one. You're not as mean as you think you are, you know that, and you're not as badass as you think you are. In '99, when he was just 20, Heath made a name for himself in 10 Things I Hate About You, an adaptation of William Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. The film rocketed him to fame in America, but also affected him in other tumultuous ways. He was afraid of being typecast forever in parts where he plays a heartthrob. In fact, he was so determined to avoid this that for the next year he turned down similar roles. But eventually, he found one of the parts that would define his entire career. In 2005, he got the opportunity to work opposite Jake Gyllenhaal in Ang Lee's Western romance Brokeback Mountain. The film opened up an entire world of award nominations for Ledger, and his performance is one of his best. Yet, it was behind the scenes where the real magic was happening. While he was pretending to romance Jake Gyllenhaal's character, on set, he was falling in love with Michelle Williams, who plays his wife in the film. A year later, they were expecting a baby together, and it should have been a time for the couple to settle into parenthood. But that's not what happened. Throughout this time, Heath Ledger's star kept rising, but his new fame revealed disturbing tendencies. He'd always been a restless person, never wanting to act the same kind of part twice, yet never completely happy with his performances. Several people reported that during this time, Ledger was a known drug user and liked to spend many a night on the town. He also had a particularly vicious relationship with Australian paparazzi, and even changed his mind about settling his family in Sydney after feeling the press were hounding him everywhere he went. Although Ledger denied the altercation, in 2004, the press reported that he spat at journalists on the set of his upcoming film, Candy. In retaliation, members of the paparazzi squirted both Ledger and Michelle Williams with water guns while they were walking the red carpet at Brokeback Mountain's Sydney premiere. This was the ugly side of fame. In 2006, Ledger had a meeting with acclaimed director Christopher Nolan. Nolan insisted that Ledger was his first and only choice to play the Joker in his upcoming Batman sequel, The Dark Knight. Although there's a public perception that Ledger's time as the Joker ruined him entirely, in actuality, he loved the role and even called it his favorite up until that point. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean his devotion to The Dark Knight was good for him in the long run. During filming, a journalist from the New York Times visited him for an interview. What they found was deeply unsettling. Ledger confessed that, as always happened when he was in the middle of work, he was having huge difficulty sleeping. He admitted that in the past week, he was surviving on about 2 hours a night. Because of his lifelong insomnia, he was comfortable, too comfortable, with taking sleeping pills. In the same interview, he admitted that the pills were no longer working for him. In the meantime, he was directing all this energy into the Joker to terrifying effect. For a month, he locked himself up in a hotel room. While there, he pored over the Batman comic books. He also meticulously worked on every detail of the character, from his voice, a strange mix of high and low pitches inspired by ventriloquism, to the Joker's erratic movements. Bed, self, me, watch. Although Batman fans were initially skeptical of his casting, Nolan believed in Ledger so much that he even allowed the actor to direct the Joker's home videos in the film. This is how crazy Batman's made Gotham. You want? Cynics would say that Ledger's turn as the Joker is iconic largely because of his premature death, but that's simply not the truth. Even the legendary Michael Caine, who played Alfred in the movies, was bowled over by Ledger's acting. Caine confessed that at one point on set, he forgot his lines because of how stunning Ledger's performance was. It's no small task to act as, in Ledger's words, a schizophrenic clown with zero empathy, day in and day out. He was open about the stresses the part was putting on his life. Although he loved going to work every day, he confessed that it was an exhausting process. The Dark Knight filmed between April and November 2007. That September, Michelle Williams' father confirmed that the couple had broken up. Heath Ledger was in one of the most intense professional periods of his career, and now his personal life was going up in flames. Almost as soon as The Dark Knight wrapped filming, Ledger began work on Terry Gilliam's The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, alongside Christopher Plummer. It was a prestigious project that catapulted his star even higher. But behind the scenes, it was getting grim. Ledger was complaining of some kind of chest infection. As always, his brain was too busy to take care of his body. Eventually, according to Plummer, it likely turned into pneumonia, and yet still Ledger put off dealing with it. By January 2008, it had been 4 months since Ledger and Williams announced their split. He was still in the middle of working on The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, living solo in his Manhattan loft. One afternoon, his housekeeper and his masseuse turned up and made a horrific discovery. Ledger was lying unresponsive on his bed, but then the situation turned bizarre. Heath Ledger's massage therapist knew something was deeply wrong, but she didn't call an ambulance or the authorities, at least not at first. Instead, in a move that has puzzled fans for years, she decided to call Mary-Kate Olsen, who was a friend of Ledger's. Olsen wasn't actually in New York at the time, and instead sent over her own private security guard to go to the apartment. After calling 911, the masseuse performed CPR to try to save Ledger's life, but it was too late. When paramedics arrived, just as Mary-Kate Olsen's security did, they pronounced him dead within 3 minutes. For exclusive perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, and to have your say on future content, consider becoming a Factor Nape member. On top of that, your support helps keep the channel going. Click the link in the description for more details. In the wake of Ledger's death, authorities scrambled to find out the cause. The autopsy revealed a huge number of medications in his system, all of them used to treat common ailments like insomnia, anxiety, and colds. Yet, taken all together, they produced a fatal cocktail, especially given his ongoing chest problems. Ledger had accidentally overdosed, and Michelle Williams was left with the cruel aftermath. When she heard the news, she broke down. Obviously, Heath Ledger never thought he would die at just 28. As a result, his last will and testament didn't provide for his daughter Matilda. He wrote it before she was born. In the breathless months following his death, multiple reports came out about relatives trying to wrangle Ledger's money for themselves, until his father shut them all up. Kim Ledger insisted that there was no way they would take Heath's $16 million fortune, even if they had a legal right. Everything was to be left for his daughter. The months after Heath Ledger died were a whirlwind for everyone involved. Thousands of fans mourned him, leaving flowers outside his New York apartment building, and his family buried him back in his hometown of Perth, in an extremely small and private ceremony. A year later, the Academy officially nominated him for Best Supporting Actor for his role in The Dark Knight. Then, when the Oscars rolled around, Ledger won, making him only the second person to win an acting Oscar, posthumously. Since that fateful January, people have speculated about what Mary-Kate Olsen had to do with Ledger's death, and why exactly his masseuse called her before paramedics. The authorities thought they knew the answer. For a while, they worked on a theory that it was Olsen who had supplied Ledger with the substances that took his life. But then the plot thickened. Whatever Mary-Kate Olsen does or doesn't know about Ledger, she was completely quiet about it. In the days following his death, she refused to talk to investigators unless they gave her immunity. Meanwhile, her representative released a statement denying her knowledge of the origin of the substances, as well as her involvement in his death. With nowhere else to turn, the authorities looked in a different direction. Once Heath Ledger's autopsy came out, no one could believe that any doctor would have prescribed him all those powerful medications together. As a result, the DEA investigated 2 of Ledger's physicians to see what they had actually prescribed him. Yet still, they got no answers. The doctors hadn't prescribed Ledger the medications that killed him, and the DEA quickly exonerated them. To this day, no one knows how Ledger obtained the fatal medical cocktail. But there's one more mystery. Another constant question surrounding Ledger is why his partnership with Michelle Williams broke up right when he was taking on the role of the Joker. According to rumors, Heath Ledger's frequent partying after the birth of his daughter upset Williams, and she kicked him out of the house for his drug use. There's a lot of lore surrounding Heath Ledger's work as the Joker, but one of the confirmed stories is also the most disturbing. To get into character, Ledger wrote a diary from the perspective of the Joker. Within the pages, he finds humor in geniuses who become mentally handicapped, among other horrific things. The journal also contains stills from Stanley Kubrick's thriller, A Clockwork Orange, photos of clown makeup, and pictures of hyenas. If you enjoyed this Factinate video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. If you want to see and who we cover next, join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.